Hello, everybody, and welcome back to It All Depends on the Situation. I'm your host, Eric, and joined again in studio with my lovely wife and co-host, Ashley.
Hey there.
All right. So it's been a hot minute. I apologize. We've been really stinking busy lately.
It's been, a couple months since we recorded an episode?
Yeah, it's been way too long. So I apologize, listeners. I know it's been a ride, but man, we have been absolutely swamped with all kinds of stuff going on.
We have been busy.
Yeah. So touch on that more in probably future episodes and everything, but no. We wanted to kind of come together and talk about, just kind of have a generational podcast episode, talking about the differences between different generations and kind of like what we all had to go through and how each one's got like their own different twist on things.
Well, if you're on social media as much as I am, like you see all the different discourse about the different generations and how they interact with each other or how they don't get along or just the generation memes absolutely kill me.
Yep. Like each generation's basically stereotyped into like certain things.
Yeah.
Like, for example, millennials have the millennial pause. Apparently we pause before starting a video.
Yes. Which, that's so funny because, I make TikToks and I now am so cognizant of that. Like, I will edit out even the most minuscule, minute pauses in the beginning of my video.
I never really had that because I kind of like jump right in with any TikTok I make. I'm just like, eh. So I never really understood the whole millennial pause thing, but...
Well, real quick, so for a refresher on what years the generations are, I have a picture here. So, baby boomers were born between 1946 and 1964. Gen X were 1965 to 1980. Millennials, 1981 to 1996. Gen Z, 1997 to 2012. Gen Alpha, 2013 to 2024, and now Gen Beta, 2025 to 2039.
Yep, we just crossed to a new threshold of generations.
Yep.
The betas are being born right now.
Isn't that crazy? It's a weird thing. We're technically Generation Y.
Yeah.
But everybody calls us millennials, so it's like I kind of don't even like, oh yeah, we're Generation Y.
Yeah. Well, we certainly feel like a crossover generation because we're kind of the bridge between the old world and the new, because we grew up during our childhood with payphones, for crying out loud. Not cell phones, payphones.
Yeah, because we were talking about this before we started the podcast, how, like, our generation, millennials, like, we were the last generation...
to experience the old world. Before the digital renaissance that happened.
Because, like, we grew up with no social media.
Nope.
Because what? MySpace and Facebook didn't come until we were in high school?
Yeah, at least in the early 2000s. I think Facebook came around in 2006, sounds right? 2006, 2007.
Because I can't remember if MySpace was in middle school or high school. I think it was early high school was MySpace. But yeah, so we grew up, we had no social media. We didn't, I didn't get my first cell phone until I was 16.
Yep. Even the internet back then was very laughable. And speaking of that too, AOL just shut down all servers.
I know,
just recently.
Man.
So yeah.
Do you remember with AOL, you used to have to get those discs, and you would get the discs in the mail for AOL.
Oh, yeah. You used to get those on like cereal cart or like packages and stuff like that too, didn't you? Yeah, I remember getting those in the mail. Yeah, they wanted to get America online, hence the name AOL. But yeah, that really started thinking that, and remember the whole "you got mail."
I want to make that my email sound on my phone so bad.
I'm sure they got the voice out there somewhere.
They do. But we grew up with computers, but they're nowhere near what they are today. I mean,
my gosh.
Dial-up internet.
Smartphones. And this is why I say, too, going through our education when we did through grade school, going through, junior high and then high school, by the time we graduated, smartphones came out. Yep. And a lot of the stuff we learned, frankly, was obsolete by that point. And it was just, it's kind of like a big slap in the face. It's like, oh my gosh. Like everything that we've basically prepared for in the workforce, and now the world's turned on its head, and now it's doing that again with AI recently.
Yeah.
It feels like, a resurgence of that all over again. So it's just kind of like the Wild West of digital technology. So who knows, what rules, regulations are being, put into place to try and stop this thing or curb it, but it's like the Wild West right now with this stuff.
Well, I had a moment recently where I felt extremely old. I had one of my coworkers, she's 20 years old, and I had to show her how to use, so we have at work, we have this spa room for the residents, and we have to play relaxing music while we're in the spa. We have a CD player in there. So I went in, showed the care, she was new at the time, showed her the spa, And I'm like, oh yeah. And when the residents are in there, turn on the music. And she's like, oh, how do we turn the music on? And I'm like, oh, there's a CD player right there. And she goes, oh, I've never used a CD player. I don't know how to use it. Like, she had never seen one in her life.
Oh, yeah.
Which I found kind of strange, because I'm like, I feel like a 20-year-old would have at least seen a CD player.
No, depends. Yeah, there's a lot of younger generations that probably, once again, CDs are kind of a thing of the past. So everything's digital now. You can basically download everything off of like Apple Music or Spotify or whatever type of like music streaming platform.
Well, so speaking of music in the different generations, because, okay, my dad and I just went to go see a concert. We went to go see Alice Cooper and Judas Priest. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about concert tickets and how, okay, concert tickets now, you just go online, you buy your tickets. Well, okay, back when my dad was, in his teens and 20s, you had to wait in line.
Yep.
You had to go to the ticket booth, and I think he said there was a ticket booth in the mall. You had to go and wait for tickets, and I think he said that there were some shows him and his buddies waited overnight to get the tickets.
And now you got Ticketmaster, an online database where it's just like purchase ticket, click, click, okay, on with my day. So difference of generational and technological increases since then. That's a good thing, I think, though. So a good change that's happened. One thing I kind of feel is a generational difference, too. I kind of still harken back to going to like video rental stores. Oh, that entire industry has been completely killed out because of streaming. And I don't know, it's bittersweet with streaming services because I feel like it's completely killed a lot of different industries that we used to grow up with.
It's starting to kill the movie theater industry too, in a way.
Yeah. Well, movie theaters like unto themselves are just like, okay, for one, it seems like there's not a lot of good movies that are out right now.
Not really.
Because like nothing really strikes our fancy, kind of like it did, way back when. But once again, maybe we're not the main demographic. Maybe they're trying to reach a younger audience, which I think is their main priority. So that's why we're kind of cast aside. It's like, eh. So once again, not your effing demo anymore.
Well, God, where was I going to go? I lost my train of thought.
With movies, and how they're kind of like on the downswing now. Or they're trying to incentivize it by getting like, subscription services, where they're like, oh, you can watch as many movies as you want to, and you get all kinds of perks for concessions. That's really where movie theaters make their bang for their buck, is in concessions. So...
Well, and thinking about, too, like, about movies, okay, pretty much a movie comes out now, you see it in the theater, and then it's almost instantly available to digital download. Mm-hmm. But yeah, remember, like, being a kid, like, you saw the movie in theater, and you had to wait for months for the movie to come out on VHS. For the most part, you had to wait for months.
And this is another thing, too, touching on the whole digital download thing. Do you even own that copy when you buy a digital download? Or does the parent company own it and they're basically leasing it out to you for the privilege of it, but it could literally take it away at any moment?
Because, like, okay, back if you owned a VHS or a DVD or a Blu-ray...
You own a physical copy of that form of media. That is yours to keep. But with this new thing where you're buying digital whatever, say, for instance, like an Xbox game, a digital download, which why the heck does it cost just as much, for a digital download as it does a physical copy? Because you think more manufacturing costs would go into the physical copy compared to a digital, but whatever. But, yeah, I got a big problem with that, especially when, Sony can basically be like, we're not, nobody's really buying any games here, even though they charge a full price for a brand new game, and they can basically yank it back at any time. That's wrong.
And thinking, too, about, like, okay, so my residents, okay, for those of you who are new listeners, I work in an assisted living with, old people. And so most of my residents, I would say, let me look at this graph. I would say... the majority of my residents are the silent generation. I have a couple that are the greatest generation, but most of them, so they're between 1928 and 1945. They can't even fathom the technology that we have now. It's like
it's light years ahead of what they were used to.
Well, sometimes like if our afternoon activity is a movie, I'll put on a movie and I could just rent whatever movie I want, and they're just amazed. They're like, "You could just get any movie you want." I'm like, "Yep, any movie you want. It's right here."
Well, I remember doing a deep dive on this. Like Disney would make a lot of bank. Re-releasing old movies like decades after their original run, and that's why they had a hard time releasing featured animated Disney movies on VHS. That's a whole other topic, because once again they felt like that was losing revenue for them, because they wanted to try and wait enough time, re-release that same movie, and make a killing in the movie theaters.
Well, remember, wouldn't they be like, oh, after this, it's going back in the Disney vault?
And that's where they invented the infamous Disney vault, and they keep on throwing stuff back in there. Once again, Gen Z, you got Disney Plus. You have every single Disney movie just kind of like at your fingertips. You press a button, bam, you're watching Peter Pan. Press a button, bam, you're watching Moana.
And then, like, back when I was a kid, I'm like, oh no, we got to get this movie or I'll never see it again.
It's going back in the vault. So if you don't buy Cinderella, Master Diamond Edition, blah, 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 for the umpteenth time, it won't be available again for another 7 years. So go out to your local video store and buy it today.
Yeah, it's and, it seems to me like with the generational divide and stuff, it seems like now it seems to be a lot of Gen Z pitted against millennials. There's like a clash between us two. Because we're millennials. We were both born in 1988.
I always felt like it's kind of one-sided, though, because, I really never had, very, looked down upon, views of Gen Z. Because I worked with them, like I said, working in, I was a photographer for a while, and I got to go photograph, high school athletes all the time. They were always chill, always great. So I'm just like, I don't have a beef with them.
But it's especially seeing it on social media. I don't know if it's because as you get older, you just don't really tend to care what people think. But it seems like a lot of, and I'm not saying all Gen Z is like this, so blah, blah, blah. But it seems like a lot of Gen Z are just obsessed with what millennials are doing, with what we're wearing, with what we're saying, with what we're... It's like...
Hyperly observant.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Because I saw this girl on TikTok made a series about... She's going to make a millennial boot camp or a Gen Z boot camp for millennials to tell us how to dress and act. Okay, but here's the thing. We're not Gen Z. We are millennials. We're not... I don't want to act like a Gen Z person. I'm not. I'm pushing 40 for crying out loud.
Yeah, but once again, okay, they're trying to tell you what's trendy now. The thing is, we're bucking that trend. We're not trying to be trendy. We're just trying to live our lives.
And a lot of I see cringe. A lot of Gen Z are saying, "Oh, that's cringe. That's cringe. Millennials are cringe. This is cringe. That is cringe."
Our ankle socks are cringe.
You will have to pry my ankle socks out of my cold, dead hands. I'm sorry.
That's a big non-factor.
Same thing with my skinny jeans, my ankle socks, my ballet flats. I'm sorry. I am keeping those.
Striking a nerve here.
It is.
I really don't care. I'm the pinnacle of unfashioned statements, wearing my... What's that? Irish patch flat cap and camo shorts.
And your
a tank top.
One of your 30 black polos.
Yeah. So I'm very Charlie Brown when it comes to types of apparel to wear.
Okay, you guys, I'm not kidding. Eric, you probably have at least 10 black polos.
Oh yeah, 20 exact same type of black polo shirts and shorts and everything I can just kind of rotate through.
Black tank tops.
Yeah. It's very monotonous. Very boring, definitely not trendy, but hey, I march the beat of my own drum. Whatever.
But yeah, it just seems like Gen Z are so focused on being cringe, and they're too afraid. Because I've seen it where it almost seems like in a way they're afraid to live and to experience new things because they're so afraid of what people will think or I don't want to be cringy.
So I argue this standpoint for when you bring up that topic. Who's really in control of your life at that point? Because are you a slave to other people's opinions of yourself, or are you living for you? That's my standpoint.
Yeah, because at that point you're a slave.
Because you're basically a slave to other people's expectations. Are you truly free at that point?
But then I am going to talk out of both sides of my mouth here, because nowadays everybody's got a smartphone and a camera, and you never know if, say, you're doing something silly, somebody records you and puts it on TikTok. So on one hand, I can kind of understand that, but I feel like a lot of people, they just take it too far. And it's
just wait till AI finally gets perfected, and you can literally put people in all kinds of awkward situations from their videos. Because you basically have a video start. You've actually experimented a little bit with this before too, haven't you? Where you've taken just a little snippet, like a video or a photo, and you ran it through AI, and it actually shows you moving and going places. Yeah, it's freaky.
TikTok had this one thing where you could put a photo through an AI filter, and I tried it. I'm like, okay, I just want to see what this looks like. And yeah, it was like I was talking, and it was freaky because it was like a video of me. Yeah. It was weird.
Yeah, that type of stuff. And once again, as technology with AI keeps on getting more perfected, that's going to get scary. Very scary.
And so, I guess, yeah.
Imagine how our parents' generation feels about AI and all the technological advances. Look how we react to it. They're probably just aghast.
Here's the thing, and I noticed this with a lot of boomers on Facebook. they fall for the AI videos.
Oh, the cats on a trampoline?
Oh my God, like, or a cat hugging Jesus, or Jesus riding a dolphin. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like,
I found Jesus.
Like, they think it's real. Like, and you look at the comments, like, I still remember it was I think I talked about this on our AI podcast, the lady who was holding a birthday cake and she was lonely. It was her 40th birthday and she was crying.
And all the, like, the boomers got totally baited in the comments. You're beautiful, you go, girl.
And I'm like, it's fucking AI.
Yep, it's fake.
And there are some of these AI clips are so very obviously AI, but there are still so many older people that are falling for it.
No, but even we're falling for it, too. The rabbits on a trampoline video.
See,
totally bamboozled
and that's the scary thing, because now AI is getting so good that there's been a few videos where I'm like, holy shit, is this AI or is this real?
Have you seen the latest trend on TikTok too, with the homeless man, like photo edits?
Oh yeah, people tricking. Like, I saw this one
tricking their parents into like, oh yeah, well there's a homeless man at the door, when really it's just like it's an AI generated picture of a random man.
Yeah.
And this one lady's just freaking out about her daughter. She's like, just lock the door, call 911, Ava.
Well, I saw this one girl was texting her dad and sending her dad, oh, yeah, there's this guy outside the door. He says he's your friend. Oh, I let him in, and there was, like, a picture of him sitting on the couch. And I think the dad, like... freaked out.
Oh, that's going to mess with a lot of people. And that's going to get some kids in big-time trouble, too.
Oh, yeah. So, but, yeah, that's something, the generations with AI, it's like... I definitely think the older generations are more susceptible to being fooled by it.
Oh, yeah. I think every generation will be susceptible to it, because I think as time goes on here, once again, that type of technology is going to be perfected. And it's going to get to the point where it's like unrecognizable from like reality. We're almost getting there to that point. It's freaky.
Yeah.
There are subtle differences, like, okay, you notice like, you know, a third hand like coming out of somebody or something like that in an AI video, and it's like, okay.
Or like the fingers look weird.
Yeah. Just like certain things just look very uncanny valley about it. It's like, okay, that doesn't look right.
Yeah.
Too symmetrical of a face or something. But once again, as you know, time goes on, it'll become more perfected. Mark my word.
And okay, so speaking of generations with social media, so it seems like each generation has their own
dominion, basically.
So boomers have Facebook,
which is wild because it started with millennials, did it not? Because you had to have a college email to get a Facebook.
You used to have a college email. Mm-hmm. And then, so yeah, boomers have like taken over Facebook. Millennials, we have Instagram, and Gen Z has TikTok. Even though I feel like both millennials are on TikTok too, but I feel like Gen Z is a huge thing.
Okay, but TikTok basically arose from the shadows of Vine. Was Vine more millennial, or was that more Gen Z?
I think Vine was more millennial, because it's got a lot of millennial humor on it.
Yep. But technically, even going back before TikTok was TikTok, it originally was called Music Alley.
Music Alley, yep.
Mm-hmm. And then, I don't know what happened through a series of mergers or something like that. They went through a rebrand, and they just became TikTok. Mm-hmm. And from there on out, it's became basically a juggernaut of short-form video media.
But yeah, I think, and I do feel, because like, okay, my mom, for example, my mom's a baby boomer, obsessed with Facebook. She's on Facebook all the time.
Oh, yeah.
But like, even my aunt is, and then, you know, your mom posts every single thing she does on Facebook.
Oh, yeah. Well, she overshares so many photos of just random strangers and everything. I'm like, stop doing that.
Okay, don't get me wrong. I post a lot on social media, too.
But not random strangers just walking by with their cat or dog. Like, come on now.
But like... Because, like, I post on my Instagram story all the time. I post on Facebook. Like, I do post a lot on social media. But, like, not to the point where every store we go to, I'm posting we went to the store. Every restaurant. Like your mom posts every single little thing that
you did have a friend like that for a while, but she's since really cooled off over the years. Oh, she was obsessively posting her entire life on Facebook.
Yeah, but she would post every single little thing on Facebook. Like, she would upload hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pictures.
Yep.
But yeah, so I do feel like the baby boomers, that's like their domain. And yeah, like, that's another thing Gen Z finds cringe about millennials, that we're still posting on Instagram. And the boomerangs on Instagram. Mm-hmm. We get absolutely raked over the coals for posting boomerangs.
I've seen the quip under comments saying, you need to share this on Instagram Reels. I think it uses a dig against people.
It is. Like, so if your TikTok video
sucks. It's a bad TikTok video, share this on Instagram Reels.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I've seen that.
Yep. Good clap back.
I'm sorry. I will never stop doing boomerangs. I like them. And you got the stereotypical one, which I've done several times, where you clink glasses when you're, out somewhere when you do the boomer. Yeah,
I never understood the whole thing of taking pictures of your food. I just think that is just so monotonously
but sometimes
boring.
it's like so aesthetic.
No, it's food. You eat it. Woo.
Yeah.
Let's see, like 100 millionth picture of a piece of sushi that looks exactly like all the other ones I posted over the past 5 decades. Like, come on. Yeah, differences of opinion. So, I just remember my cousins, they're about 10 years older than me, and they probably grew up, I think they were Gen X.
I think your cousins are like tail end of Gen X.
Yep, they grew up in a generation, once again, that we were exposed to a little bit of video rentals and video games. The rise of Nintendo, really, during the 80s was a pinnacle moment for them in a lot of ways. So they were the ones that, like, once again, introduced me to video games because they were all about it, and they had all kinds of, like, they were even burning, copies of games onto, like, a CD or, like, a little hard drive, even way back in the early 90s. It was really cool.
Man, burning CDs.
Yep.
Do you remember LimeWire, burning CDs on LimeWire?
Mm-hmm. Well, there was a thing you could do where, like, when PlayStation first came out, there was a lot of copying of PlayStation games. You could basically go out to a video rental store, rent a PlayStation game, take it home, burn it to a CD, and that burned CD would basically be like an exact replica copy of that game, and you could have an entire archive of every single PlayStation game by renting it once. And I don't know how many millions PlayStation's lost out on that, but it helped build their brand because everybody wanted a PlayStation. But once again, that was kind of their generation. Like, we were still young squirts growing up at that point. Like, we grew up during our childhood with PlayStation, N64, and GameCube and all that stuff when we came of age. But when they were younger, they had the original Nintendo, 8-bit.
Well, okay, but even think about before Nintendo. Okay, there was the Atari.
Mm-hmm. 2600 and all the other ones.
What are some? See, okay, if we should do, I'm calling it now. We need to do a part 2 to this episode, but we need to have somebody who's a baby boomer and someone who's a Gen Z.
Yeah.
On our next generation podcast.
Yeah, we'll put this into. Well, like I said, I'll title it "Generational Trauma" Part 1.
But okay, some of the systems like the baby boomers and Gen X might have played. So they're the Atari.
Well, I know your dad played video games. My parents, never got into it. They just thought that, video games, why waste your time with just a ping pong ball that's going back and forth?
I think my mom did a little bit, but yeah, I mean, my dad was more the video game guy.
Oh, yeah.
Than my mom was. Mm-hmm. Well, but even, different, so, okay, for baby boomers, in Gen X, different forms of media, okay, they had, records? Mm-hmm. 8-track tapes?
Newspapers,
yeah, God.
Yep. That's what I mean. Even some of your residents, they still want that newspaper. But once again, our generation, we like to consume visual media, not just words on a page. And once again, this is kind of an indictment of the younger generations too. How many of them show tremendous scores of illiteracy?
For right now?
Yes. They don't even know how to write in cursive, for crying out loud.
Well, they stopped teaching. Well, apparently they're teaching it again. But there was a long period of time they weren't teaching kids how to write in cursive. You know what else is scary? And I've had a couple coworkers, again, late teens, early 20s, they don't know how to read a clock.
Yep. They can read a digital clock because it spells out the numbers, but the actual clock where it just shows the 2 hands and just a bunch of...
Yeah, they can't read an analog clock.
Yeah.
Because I remember...
That's wild to me.
Because I remember one time I made a comment, I'm like, oh, it's 1:45. Mm-hmm. What's that mean? I'm like, it's 15 minutes till 2.
So put a quarter on the number 2.
And she's like, well, what does that mean? And I said, look at the clock, 15 minutes 2. She's like, I can't read that. I don't know how to read a clock. And I am like, my jaw on the ground.
Stunned.
On the ground. I was stunned.
Unacceptable.
And I'm like, how do you not know how to read a basic clock? I feel like that's something, a basic thing that most kids learn, right?
Apparently not. What are they teaching these kids these days?
Those young
Back in our day, we played the Oregon Trail, and we liked it. Half of our family died of dysentery.
Oh, Oregon Trail.
Oh, my God.
Do you... Okay, so...
Oregon Trail and Math Blaster and all those other, really janky mid-90s, early technology video games for the PC were just laughably bad.
And, okay, so when I was in school, my freshman year... We were the first class to get actual computers for typing because we took a typing class. Yeah, our class was the first class to get actual computers because all the years before that were on typewriters.
I remember my parents, when they bought their first computer, it was an old DOS computer, and it had Mario Teaches Typing on it. And I remember just like, oh my God, it's my first way I could play Mario. So basically taught me how to type. I'm just like, yeah, T-S-A? Oh my God, Mario's moving.
I used to play Typer Shark. That's how I learned to type.
Really?
And then do you remember when you were learning how to type that, okay, you were supposed to use specific fingers for specific keys?
Yes.
I
never learned that.
Nobody fucking does that.
Everybody just points their fingers and click, 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 click.
So I remember like my typing teacher, we would have to take a test. She would watch us type.
Oh God.
To make sure we used
the use the hand over there or hand over there.
Now you hit the A button with your index finger, and it's like nobody does that.
You know what I heard through the grapevine? Whether this is true or not, I don't know. But looking up in history, apparently there was a true like alphabetical keyboard displayed how the alphabet usually is, but people got so good at using a typewriter that way that they completely messed up the keys to make it a little harder so it'd slow them down from typing.
Really?
Yes. So originally we had A through Z on the typewriter was actually laid out like that. It would have been so much easier. I
was wondering why the keys are laid out the way they are.
Yeah, it's to slow them down from typing. Isn't that wild? Yeah, it is just a weird laid out pattern too when you look at a keyboard. It's like, but it's basically stemming from the typewriter days, which I remember. My dad was a sports writer and sports editor over at a newspaper. He would actually have, a typewriter in his office like way back when I was a real little kid. And then when we finally got to computers, once again, similar type of thing. Instead of like, using a typewriter, hearing the click and it like, the little hammer go and hit the ink and it would basically create your story there. Once again, they ported it over to, keyboard and computer and boom. Suddenly you don't have any more like ink mistakes.
Yeah, because I remember when I was really little, my grandma used to work for an insurance agent. My mom would take me there. We would go visit her sometimes at work, and she had a typewriter in her office, and I used to play with it because I thought it was so cool.
I used to drive my dad nuts because I would hit two buttons at once, and the hammers would interlock with the two, and you couldn't get them unstuck, so you had to sit there and like pry them off. And he's just like, stop doing that! I'm sorry. So, it was fun messing with it because it had a satisfying click to it. Whenever you use a typewriter, it was just...
Yeah, it was very, very satisfying.
Yeah. So that's probably why you like clicky keyboards now, because it's probably reminiscent of that.
I do love a clicky keyboard.
Oh, yeah. We got one of those upstairs. So click, click, click.
But that's a good point, because, I used to love that typewriter at my grandma's work. I loved that thing.
Maybe it's a nostalgic thing.
Maybe.
Scratches that itch in your brain.
Man.
Mm-hmm. But, yeah. So once again, we talk about like us being kind of the bridge generation of things. And we touched a little bit on... payphones compared to cell phones, because when did cell phones really come of age? Because it was really more, I think, during our high school years, probably.
Let me Google.
Like the rise in the 2000s really kind of like brought about, because remember, you had to pay for text. Every text you sent charged you like, I forget how many cents. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, I think remember, I think it was 10 cents a text, but then you had free nights and weekends. But here's the funny thing for me. When I didn't start texting until I went to college.
Yeah.
I never texted in high school.
Yeah.
Because my dad was like, and my mom felt the same. I think they both were like, why do you need texting? You could just call somebody to talk. But then when I went away to college.
Yep, they text all the time.
My mom and dad, they would text. It was easier to communicate that way. So it's, so that's when I started texting.
Yep.
And now it's like, everybody texts. It's like that's the main form of communication.
I remember because our high school years were like right in the middle of the early 2000s, like 2003 to 2006-ish. And I remember the phone to have back then was the BlackBerry, because it actually had a full keyboard pad. It had like a little roller button thing. And you basically like, it would make texting so easily. You just, it's actually a keyboard. And you just go through and click, 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 and boom, off you send a text. That thing was a sweet little, and it actually had like a little holster you put on your belt buckle.
So the very first cell phone was the Motorola Dynatac 8000X, which went on sale in 1983.
Dang.
After Martin Cooper made the first public cell phone call in 1973. Often called, it was the brick phone. The big,
with the antenna?
With the antenna.
Hilarious. We actually used to have like a big walkie-talkie system my parents like strapped to their car and my cousin's car. And we all went to Ocean City together one year, and we were kind of like talking to each other through that little hilarious antenna.
Holy crap. So that brick phone was $4,000.
Oh, yeah. Adjusted for inflation, I can't imagine what it is now. Woo-hoo.
But I remember my first cell phone, it was a flip phone. And do you remember, like, you could go on the internet on those phones, but, like, you couldn't because it was like really expensive. And if you accidentally hit the internet button, it's like, oh
no. Yep. Charging all kinds of rates. I still remember one time my dad actually brought in a cell phone bill and confronted me and my 3 brothers. Mind you, me and my brothers are all like 4 years apart. Middle brother Ryan behind me is 4 years, and then younger brother Jeremy is 4 years behind Ryan. And my dad comes in and he's just like, all right, boys, we got to like really knock down the texting on cell phones here.
I remember this.
And basically he's like, Eric, it looks like on this bill you sent 400 text messages. I'm like, okay, that's a decent number. We're pretty responsible. This is over the course of a month. And he comes over, he's like, Ryan, the middle brother, it's like, you sent 768 texts. And Ryan's like, oh, okay. He comes over to my baby brother, Jeremy. He's like, Jeremy, you sent 1,798 text messages. Mind you, this was all charged back then.
Yeah, it was charge protection.
So charging between all 3 of us brothers, that was pretty close to like, that was almost close to 3,000. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably 3,000 words or 3,000 text messages.
Yeah,
I can't imagine that bill.
Yes, because it was 10 cents a text, I'm pretty sure.
Oof. So yeah, safe to say Dad was pretty upset that day.
Oh, I don't blame him.
Yep. So, and now everything's like, basically data plan's the big thing.
Yeah,
now.
you have a data, yes, because we have unlimited data, so that doesn't really matter now.
Yeah, but I guarantee how many family plans out there don't have unlimited data, like how many times are kids running up over data and parents getting upset about it. I guarantee that's a thing.
Well, I remember when we were on my dad's cell phone plan, I think we went over on our data, especially when Pokemon Go came.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
We didn't have unlimited data then, and I think we went over a couple times.
Yeah. Whoops.
Sorry, Dad.
Mm-hmm. But we usually try to play on or by a library where you can hook up to Wi-Fi.
Yeah, we try to hook up to Wi-Fi. But yeah, I think most people now have unlimited data, I feel like, for the most part, because, yeah.
Some don't, but once again, it's a nice feature whenever you do. So.
Okay, but before cell phones, one thing I can think of, pagers.
Oh, yeah.
Which is funny because we actually still use pagers at work. Mm-hmm. And they're so archaic now. But yeah, I remember people had pagers. I think my dad had a pager at one point.
Mm-hmm. I think certain medical offices still use pager systems, which is hilarious.
Yeah, a lot of medical places use pagers.
Mm-hmm. Which is funny.
But like, if you show, could you imagine, like, okay, giving a Gen Z person a pager.
Yep.
I mean, heck, I have a hard time using the pager at work.
I probably wouldn't know how to use it either, to be honest. I don't think I've ever used one.
Because like I said, at work, we have them. But I mean, even I still have trouble with them. It's like, how do you... And that's something too, like, okay, the difference between generations, like, okay, asking a Gen Z and a millennial, how do you take a picture? And...
Oh, the different, like, motions we make with our hands.
So, us, it's like, okay, millennials...
We pinch our fingers over to the side like you're taking a picture.
Like a camera. But then Gen Z...
They'll hold up a cell phone and they, like, click a button on the side.
Yep.
The differences of generations there.
And then, what was it? How do you roll down a window? And we do the crank.
We do the hand crank.
And then
they just do the button.
Have you seen how they do a heart?
Yeah, it's like some weird thing with their hands.
I can't even, like, okay, we just... Obviously, you can't see what I'm
we,
doing.
like, basically cup our hands and then make a heart.
But then...
They do theirs with, like, the inner fingers or something, don't they?
They do a weird thing with the fingers, and I can't do it.
To each their own.
Or, like, how do you hang up a phone? That was the other one, like, the difference is, like, okay, like, we act like we're talking on a phone and then putting the phone down, like, hanging it up, and then Gen Z is just, they press a button.
This is one thing I talk about, too, is the fact that, like, growing up, too, we had to memorize phone numbers like crazy because we didn't have smartphones on hand. We literally had to remember... Okay, my home phone number is, this set of digits. And I remember a certain time during our childhood when they added area codes. Because before, you only needed 7 numbers to call places. But now, like, they gave an area code. They're like, okay, now with, the Akron region, they said, you're going to have 330 before your phone number now. I'm like, what the heck is this? This is weird.
Yeah, I remember that, when they added area codes. That's so weird.
Yeah, when was that?
So when we were kids.
Yeah, Gen Z be completely oblivious to that. Like, what? They weren't 10 digits?
Yeah, because before it was
7.
7.
But because of, once again, the rise of cell phones and all kinds of other phone technology, they're like, okay, we got to make this a little more complicated. Let's add 3 more numbers to the front of, any given number. That's why the one song, what's it, 8675309, is irrelevant now. Because you don't have, like, area code in front of it.
Area code.
I got it, but now it's obsolete. And then going back to cassette tapes and VHS tapes. Yeah. Compared to, like, oh my gosh, when the iPod came out for the first time, like, it was mind-blowing. You mean to tell me I could have an entire library worth of music just like in this little tiny little thing that holds a charge and I can listen to it through my headphones without it skipping?
The iPod?
Yeah.
Like,
that is such a game changer.
I got my first iPod when I was in college.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad I wouldn't, because I listened to it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And it's funny because of that iPod, there are certain songs that I listen to that remind me of college because it was on my iPod.
Yep. But that's why, okay, us growing up, we had cassette tapes. It was just kind of like a smaller version of like a VHS cassette tape. But basically, yeah, you popped into a boombox or like even a Walkman. And you could sit there and like, you know, kind of walk around. And once again, you had to fast forward and rewind because it wouldn't jump to the exact spot in the song you wanted. You actually had to sit there and wait and crank through it and burn. You hear the whirring of it.
Oh, yeah.
So, and that was the other thing too with video rental stores. When you rented a VHS video, be kind, rewind. You're always supposed to rewind the tape just so the next person who rents that video can jump right to it, not to sit there and like, you know, press the stop button and then hit rewind on that thing. Actually, we had kind of a funny moment with a VHS tape. You just bought E.T.
I did.
On VHS tape, and our VCR just took a dump.
Yeah, because we actually still have a VCR, and I put the tape in, and it just kept powering off.
It just ate it.
And then the tape got like the actual
stuck around the prongs
in there. So I'm probably gonna have to buy a new ET VHS because I think it's ruined.
That's okay. I'm sure you can get it for like $1 over Goodwill.
I saw one on eBay for $5.
Yeah, you could probably go to the Exchange over here in Ohio. They probably have another one. But yeah, VHS tapes, they were, and I think by this time, they were actually supposed to like degrade, aren't they? Because like that type of film, I don't think is meant to last over a certain number of decades. I think it's actually like brittle.
Like, what did they have before VHS?
Laserdisc.
But like, well, okay, the little reels.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, that brings me on to another topic. Okay, like along like media and movies, the giant camcorders.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember the ones?
The giant, like, albatrosses you had to put over your shoulder?
Yeah, put over your shoulder.
You felt like an actual, like, you know, news camera station. Or you had that thing. My parents had one of those.
But my dad has a bunch. It wasn't with the camcorder. It was the camera that he had when it was when he was a kid. He still has the reels from it, I think.
Yeah.
But it was the film.
Mm-hmm.
God, what was that called?
No idea.
But yeah, because it was a camera. His dad had it. My grandpa had the camera, and yeah, you had the film, and you could put it in the projector, and it would play. Obviously, there's no sound, but it would play.
It's totally like Clark Griswold from Christmas Vacation.
Every time, yes, exactly. Every time I watch that scene, it makes me think of my dad, because
Yep. Reminiscing about the olden days.
Yep. But I remember, the giant camcorder, and then as time went on, they got smaller and smaller and smaller.
Well, now, once again, it's all down to a cell phone now. You can basically just record every moment of your life or your kids' lives through a cell phone. And frankly, the quality is just phenomenal. Because this rivals anything like a DSLR camera can do, like at this point. I mean, there's still some really high-end ones that can do really nice stuff. But man, these cell phones, they're just getting like super next level. It's awesome. They're getting to the point where like people are even like using this to film like video productions in professional settings and for college classes. Mm-hmm. It's wild. Well, once again, we grew up with Oregon Trail, and then you go to this, like 20 years later. Like,
well, but think about it. Okay, Pong, the game Pong, compared to the video games we have
20
now.
20 years before us.
It's...
Yeah, look at Pong compared to, like, you know, the most recent, you know, mind-blowing, you know, okay, Tekken 8, for instance. Tekken 8's graphics compared to Pong.
How much? Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, like, whoosh. That's about 50 years of difference right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, insane. It looks like a movie half the time. Seriously, it's getting to the point, especially with AI too. I'm sure if you incorporate AI into like video games, my God, you can make realistic, you know.
Yeah.
Well, that's the big thing with Hollywood right now. They're just they rolled out this new first ever AI actress, and it's throwing Hollywood into a tizzy. Mm-hmm. So, on to their topic of that one.
Oh yeah, another topic I wanted to touch on, something this is just something I've observed with different generations, is the way the different generations, like the way they look at people, or like the way they look at people, or the way they judge people, or like, does that make sense? Because something I've noticed with baby boomers, it's always, anytime they're talking about somebody, it's always about their weight and how they look, about their dress. Like, it's always, oh, that she was real heavy set, or oh, she's too big to be wearing that. Oh, that guy was wearing nail polish. oh, this person's heavy. They're heavy. They're heavy set. I've noticed that boomers are very, very, very fixated on weight.
Does that perhaps come across as a tad bit of envy or jealousy in a lot of ways, too, that the person's younger than them? And they've kind of lost their youth a little bit?
But I don't know what it is, but it's very, like, every time they have to make a comment about what somebody's looks like or what somebody's wearing or, oh, that person shouldn't be wearing that. Oh, that girl's too heavy to be wearing that. Like, but it's every every baby boomer I know is like that.
Well, a lot of the baby boomers that, I know and everything, always asking about jobs. How's the job going? Oh, you're only working 3 days a week. That's a part-time job. Yeah, they have no concept of, like, you could be working a 12-hour days, as a nurse, working for 3 solid days, and you get 4 days off.
Well, and I think that comes from the generation before them, too, because my grandpa is part of the silent generation.
Yeah, I think just work.
And, he's of the mindset, if you take time off, you're going to get in trouble for, like...
God forbid you take a day of PTO. Oh,
like how
do you expect an advance?
Yeah, and I think to the baby boomers and even maybe Gen X to some extent... It was always like, you got to climb the corporate ladder. Just go in there and give them a firm handshake. And that's not how things are.
Slap your resume on their desk and tell them you want a job.
That's not how things work anymore.
Yeah. And the vast majority of places are just like, apply online. Like, you go there in person, apply online.
But that is one thing I do appreciate about Gen Z, is Gen Z is very much about work-life balance. Like...
They're like, yeah, what's in it for me? If I'm not going to get anything from this, see ya.
And it's very much like they want to have a job where they have a livable wage, but they don't want work to consume their whole identity.
Bingo.
Because I feel like with a lot of like the silent generation and baby boomers, your work is your whole
work is a life
identity.
And that's why after all these years of being loyal to the company, working for them for so long, and they get laid off.
Yeah.
And suddenly you lose out on that pension, lose out on all this other like bells and whistles stuff that was promised over the moon to you for being a good, loyal worker, and now you're starting over from square one at 50. Or 60.
Well, because I remember my aunt made a comment about people job hopping. She said, I just don't understand how people can job hop. And
that's how you get ahead.
That's how you get ahead.
In a lot of different industries these days. And once again, the market's changed.
Well, because I've been at my job for a long time, like 11 years, and I had made a comment to my aunt that, at one point I was looking for another job and stuff. She said I'd be job hopping. I've been at the same job for 11 years. Yep. How the frick is that job hopping? You don't see that anymore, people being at the same job for that long. That's not frickin' job hopping.
Yep. Once again, her generation, basically, it was about sticking with that one job and climbing the ladder.
And they're very much like, they're okay with being miserable, because my aunt, again, would make the comment like, well, I was miserable for 30 years. I don't want to be miserable for 30 years.
That's projection at its finest. It's like, I went through that, so you should go through that.
Yeah, I noticed that too with the baby boomers. Like, well, I had to do that, so you just had to tough it out and do it too. It's like, well, maybe we don't want to work at a job that we hate for 30, 40 years.
And then there's also the other thing, too, of drinking culture we touched on, too.
Yeah.
How the big thing to do for baby boomers was go out and drink with some buddies. Go out and drink.
Yeah, go out after work, do social outings after work and do this, do that. It's like, no.
And frankly, okay, does any millennial or Gen Zer have the time to go out and do that?
Or the money.
Yeah. Because, okay, once again, the rate of inflation has just skyrocketed, especially over the last 4 years. Won't touch on that subject. But it's literally made like, okay, even when you get a raise at your job, do you feel like you're keeping pace with where we're currently at as far as like the dollar expense? Because I feel like we either just barely break even or we're like basically losing out with every subsequent year. Once again, we're being outpriced. And I feel like that's intentional.
Well, and like I've seen too with baby boomers, they don't understand, like, well, if you just stop eating avocado toast and drinking lattes, you could afford a house. Sorry, you bought your house for a twig and a penny. Yeah. Like, it's not the same.
No, but like I said, there's a little bit of truth to both sides because, okay, do millennials and Gen Z live extravagantly? Can we? Yes.
And sure, yeah.
Absolutely. Live beyond our means, I think, is the stip.
But I don't think every millennial and every Gen Z lives beyond their means.
No, but once again, are we ordering DoorDash all the time? Yeah.
Yeah.
That could be seen as living beyond your means. Because, like, if you're blowing, like, $70 on, like, sushi to be delivered to your house every other Tuesday, I mean, that's kind of an extravagance. So, but once again, you got to live too. So I see the balance there.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have a balance because, like, you still need to live and have fun, but... Yep.
But I see from Boomer's perspective about, okay, be smart with finances. because once again, everybody tends to be very spend heavy. But here's the thing: we kind of have to be because of the rate of inflation. Like we're barely like what? Okay, once again, they have this graph they call like what's the Big Mac index. So whatever the rate of a Big Mac is, usually a lot of economic factors are determined by the value of that Big Mac.
Yep.
The Big Mac, once again, go back to like before COVID and everything. The Big Mac was probably around $5-6, or no, probably even cheaper than that. But like a combo was probably around like, I don't know, $7 or so. But yeah, magically it's ballooned up to like almost like what, 12. I mean, depending where you are, if you're in California, it might be closer to 20. So, but once again, it just shows like, and that's just for a Big Mac. Imagine everything else from like basic essentials like toilet paper, trash bags, or even food.
It's expensive.
So, yeah.
Or like, and the whole thing too, like a lot of millennials and Gen Z have student loans. And
on top of everything.
And okay, I'm extremely fortunate that I did not have student loans. But, I've had people ask me, oh, why don't you go get your master's degree? I don't want to take
point?
There's number one, there's no point because
it works against you in the field.
It works against you most of the time because people don't want to pay you for a master's degree. But then I would have to take out like $30,000 in loans. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be saddled with 30, 40K.
And you've heard all these horror stories of both millennials and Gen Z, even though we were sold a bill of goods by the older generations. You work hard, you get that piece of paper, and you will just fall into a job that will set you up for the rest of your life. What a lie. What a lie.
I think it was my dad told me when he was in college, they told him not to accept a job that paid less than $50,000 a year. And it's like, you're lucky if you can find a job that pays that now.
And once again, there's a lot of employers that set what's called a low anchor when you first go into that job. Like, they'll blow your mind with how low they go. It's just like, okay, well, this is about, this is entry level. This will be around like $25,000 to $30,000 a year. And it's just like, you could flip a burger at McDonald's for that kind of like, price now.
And something too, baby boomers don't understand too, like the job search is horrible.
Yeah.
Like I've seen people online who've applied to 300, 400 jobs, not even get called by any of them.
Yep.
And then they don't they're like, why don't you just go there and hand them your resume?
Most places don't even like allow you to physically turn in a resume
they
anymore.
Don't.
Yep. It's all done through online.
And then it's like, okay, they want like 10 years of experience for an entry-level position that pays $18 an hour.
I was always told when applying for a new job, it's usually two of three things. Either it's, somebody, you have a degree, or you have the job experience. Usually two of the three will get you a job in any particular place. More times than not, I found knowing somebody is like one of the biggest ways to really get your foot in the door somewhere. That's
almost like the only way now to get jobs.
It really is. Yeah, networking. But once again, that's a valuable skill to learn for a lot of people. So if you can really network, and this is one thing, touching on another subject too that's generational, social clubs. Back in like the 50s and 60s after World War II, there was a lot of guys coming back from war, and they would just all hang out in social clubs, and they'd sit there and rub elbows, network with each other. Well, hey, I've got a construction business. Well, hey, I'm a plumber. And then, boom, they would basically, exchange business cards with each other, and that's how you generate your own business. Nowadays, like, we're so heavily focused on working all the time, it feels like nobody has time for these social clubs. Like, why even bother? Because you barely spend enough time with your significant other.
Yeah, I mean, because there's literally some days where I come home and I am just exhausted.
And I feel like that's intentional. I think society is deliberately doing that to people. So, and also to prevent people from revolting or causing a revolution. Just make them work harder. Just make them work harder. But that only goes so far because eventually there comes a breaking point. And I feel like
we're on the brink of something. Yeah. We are.
That's what I feel like too. I think, we're heading to, well, it has to be, because the rate in which, a lot of Gen Z and millennials are not very optimistic with the future. Like, do you feel like our future is full of bright opportunities here in this country?
Oh, no.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Okay, say that to our childhood selves back in the 90s. The future was our oyster. Oh, my gosh, we were promised the moon over.
Yeah,
you get that degree, and you're going to be doing great in life. You're going to be, soaring with the eagles. And,
yeah, I think we're the first generation that's going to make less than our parents.
Yep.
Because I think at my age, my dad was probably making more than what I make now.
Yeah. But it's just wild how, like, both of us, with our combined income, we're making more than we ever have.
Yep.
But just, once again, just barely making enough to just make it work. It's weird.
It is weird.
Because, once again, most money we've ever made in our entire lives. And now it's like, what?
Because like our utilities are going up, like you know, the downside to being a homeowner is shit breaks and you got to get stuff fixed, and you know our car insurance goes up, homeowners insurance goes up.
Well, those things will always steadily increase over the course of time too to match the rate of inflation. That's just like a given thing. But once again, for other people who are renting, rent is always increasing to match whatever the market is.
Well, that's like too the older generations too are freaking out because the birth rate is going down. And it's like,
it's going to create a shortage in the workforce. But once again, we were hammered so much as children, like during our younger years, like there's an overpopulation. There's too many people. There's too many people. Yes. Way too many people. And now, oh my God, we're going to have a baby shortage.
Because like, okay, do you remember as a kid, it's like, if you have sex, you're going to get pregnant and it's going to ruin your life. And then we're going to be overpopulated. You have a baby, your life's going to suck. And surprise, surprise, millennials were not having babies. And it's like, why aren't you having babies? Like, what?
Do you notice the constant trend of fear-mongering?
Yes.
It's always trying to drive fear into the notion of everybody. Fear, 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 fear. Why is it that way? Like, why can't people just be encouraged or inspired by one another? Like, wow, this person's doing well. I would like to do what they're doing. How did you guys do that? It's never that type of talk. It's always, oh, well, look at so-and-so. They're doing this. Why aren't you doing that? And you're doing this? Why are you doing this? Like, you're told one thing, and by the time you achieve that one thing, you're like, why would you do that? Now you have all the student loans. Like, wow, it's just such a waste now.
Yeah.
Even though they've been hammering for decades into, like, get that degree, got to get that degree, get that degree. And now you got that degree. Why'd you get that degree?
Well, and then, too, baby boomers used to look down on trades. Like, oh, no, you got to go get a degree.
There's a lot of people that still do look down on trades.
But you go to a trade and you make more than people with degrees do half the time.
Yep.
But yeah, but to the topic of babies and stuff, yeah. Okay, daycare is insane.
Oh, it's crazy.
I talked to some of my coworkers and friends who have their kids in daycare. It's so expensive. Hundreds of dollars a month, if not thousands.
Yeah, I've literally got a coworker I work with where literally I think he just took on a job to basically pay for daycare. Because they argue like, okay, should one of the two just like parents stay at home and just be a constant stay-at-home person, or should they both work and just pay for like daycare?
If your paycheck's only going for daycare, then why are you working?
Yeah.
Because I had a nurse that I worked with. And I thought she was a great nurse, but she worked with us for like 8 months. But she's like, I'm staying home because literally her entire paycheck was going to daycare. And she's like, it's not worth it for me to work. Literally, she's like, my bills or my paycheck's not contributing to our bills. It's just going to daycare.
And that's why I think talking to him, basically, I think he calculated like there was a little bit left over on top of what they pay for daycare that they could use for other like living expenses, like obviously probably for buying diapers, food, or whatever. But still, like, think about that. Like, oh my God.
But yeah, this same thing with that nurse. Yeah, her entire paycheck was going to daycare. And like, that's expensive. Doctor, you have to take your kids to the doctor all the time. Doctors are expensive. Insurance is expensive.
But once again, too, this all stems back to the rapid inflation that's happened over the past 5 years here.
So it's like, and then on top of the baby boomers, like talking about like, if you get pregnant, your life's ruined. You're gonna ruin your life if you have a baby.
Yep.
Like,
and now they're about facing like, oh my God, we need more babies. And the one thing I think the reason why they're so obsessed with what everybody's doing, they gotta have a job. I really think because they are terrified of losing Medicare. Yeah. In a lot of ways. Because like, if our generation's up in protest and stop working, it grinds Medicare, Medicaid to a freaking halt. And they lose their health care services. And that petrifies them. So, and once again, is Medicare going to be there when we're their age? Legit question. Because they said by the late 30s it's supposed to completely run out.
Probably.
So, we paid in all this money into the system for what?
Nothing.
And what little return we'll get back for, if any. Like, we're not promised that. Like, even though they say we're supposed to have promise to it, like, I think the whole thing was originally built, to basically take advantage of the baby boomers, because they were the majority workforce. There was a ton of them.
Yeah.
Now that they're retired, and, like, there's a shortage in the workforce, like, it's an uneven balance right now. So, and our government just keeps on, like, spending. So. Yep. And they're in the middle of a shutdown right now, so. Woohoo. So, more shunting of money. But, once again, is Medicare going to be there for us? When
we're probably going to have to work till we're dead. Maybe.
Invest smart.
Maybe.
Build business or have a podcast take off.
Hey, yeah, maybe our podcast will take off and we'll get sponsors and make a lot of money.
Yep.
Ha ha ha.
Hey, work for Joe Rogan.
Well, Joe Rogan was kind of already famous, so
Yeah.
that, kind of helped.
No, well, you never know, though.
And that's something, too, I noticed with, like, baby boomers and Gen X tend to look down on people who make money through content creation, like YouTube.
You mean passive income?
Like YouTube creators, Instagram creators. Like, okay, obviously, not all baby boomers think that way, but I noticed they're like, that's not a real job.
But once again, that's how your grandpa thinks. He thinks that, like, if you're not working, punching in 9 to 5, that's a job. And even certain 9 to 5s have to fit into that criteria because, like, other certain, jobs are not considered a job in his eyes.
Yeah, like, okay, my job, I don't have a real job.
In his mind, yeah.
My mom doesn't have a real job. My aunt doesn't have to him, a real job is like if you are working in a factory or if you're working in an office building.
Because that's what he did, right?
But yeah, everything else. And then, yeah, if you are not physically, and I think your parents are like this too. Mm-hmm. If you're not going into a job and physically clocking in and out, they don't understand it.
Correct. Because once again, that's projection. That's all they've known, all they've grown up with. So every other type of thing is foreign to them. The concept of being an entrepreneur would blow their mind. Like, oh my God, start your own business. What are you talking about? No, you need to go and get hired by an employer that better have good benefits, a good retirement plan, a matching 401k, and all this other stuff.
You gotta get a management position?
It's just like, okay, you don't think about like, okay, starting a business from the ground up that slowly begins to grow so much over the years where it turns into a multi-million-dollar moneymaker. Mm-hmm. And suddenly you're set for life and you're the one who's a business owner, can make all the calls. Mind you have all the risk, too.
Yeah.
But at the same time, okay, so is the 401k option for as far as risk. Because can't you only take like 4% out of your 401k in a given year without being penalized?
I don't know.
Yeah, and they don't teach people that. It's like, so
I have
what's the bigger ripoff and, danger?
I have a 401k, and
we do both do.
I check on it periodically. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it ebbs and flows with the stock market, so depending where that's at.
But yeah, just, wow. So many differences.
Yeah. But once again, the way people were raised and how different the world was. Because I think a lot of people tend to view the world through their own lens. Like, obviously, baby boomers and, like, silent gen view the world like, oh, the world was great back then and it's just too confusing and too fast now.
But I'm even finding that with myself sometimes because, like, I think of my childhood, like, in the 90s. Like, I feel like I'm like, oh, that was back in the day. That's when things were great. Mm-hmm. And, I mean... Music
was better back then.
I mean, but to us, I mean, that in our lens of the world, it is. Like, it was great growing up in that time. And
well, because we got to see the old world and the new world in a lot of ways. So, here's the thing. I do love... certain things about today's world that I would not want to go back to the past for at all. Okay, instant service as far as like, the advent of smartphone technology. Yeah. I would not want to go back. This is awesome. Like you said, waiting in line to buy tickets, waiting even overnight. And now you can literally just hit a button on, Ticketmaster. Bam, there's your ticket.
Yep.
Scan it with your phone. You get into the venue with a QR code. How awesomely slick is that?
And also, one thing I would not want to live without, GPS.
Yeah. That was the thing back in the 90s. We really didn't have that.
Well, I mean, okay, so with us, I remember you would go on MapQuest and you would print out the directions. But even before that, okay, like, you had to use maps.
Yep. My parents would actually go to AAA travel services and get what's called a triptych.
Oh, yeah.
And they would basically print out like a little map with a highlighted route of, the route you're supposed to take from getting from Ohio down to Florida. And I remember, like, how many times my parents would take a wrong turn.
Well, your dad still did, even with the GPS.
Oh, yeah. That's another thing, too. Once again, older generation trying to use GPS systems. Turn here. Where? Ugh! They told me to turn there, and I wasn't supposed to turn there.
Okay, one of my biggest pet peeves, and this is going to sound so bad, and it sounds really mean, an old person at a self-checkout.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
It's like rocket science. They're just like, they've been basically told to, like, pass, like, the bar exam.
It's not hard.
And just like, oh
it is not difficult. I mean, I don't know if it's because I used to be a cashier at one point, but it's not hard to do.
Yep.
Self-checkouts are not hard.
Yeah, but once again, older generations, they don't want to learn new things because, like, I've learned all my stuff. I'm done learning. So, and once again, kind of stubbornness kind of takes over there. Yeah. So that's why they just sit there and stand slack-jawed in front of it going, what is this? I don't understand. When really it's like, scan your little store card, scan your
your
items,
food.
put it in a bag, hit the credit card or the money option, insert whatever payment method, get receipt, off you go. See, as a millennial, we look at that and we're like, oh, this is easy transaction. Bing, bing, bing. And the same thing with like an ATM machine when you're waiting at a bank, which it's another thing too. Banks back then, like there was a lot more brick and mortar buildings. Now there's just ATMs
I
everywhere.
can't remember the last time I went in a bank.
Oh my gosh. Well,
I can't remember the last time I wrote a check.
I remember going into a Huntington one time, and there was an older guy, probably, I don't know if he was an elderly boomer or if he was a silent gen, but he was literally talking with one of the managers there about how to basically set up his password to get onto his, basically his portfolio so he could access all of his hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, and it's like you can reset your password yourself.
Uh-huh. And they had no idea how to do that. They just needed tech help. Which tends to be a lot of thing for older generations. They lean on the younger generations for tech help.
Oh, man. Oh, I remember one time my mom needed help resetting her password for a work thing.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother is not organized at all. So she's like, I need to reset my password, but I need this code. I wrote it down on a piece of paper. She just had random pieces of paper scattered everywhere. Yeah. And I'm like, do you know which one it was? And she's like, no. And she had multiple numbers. So I had to sit there and try every single number. And then I got locked out of her account and I had to call tech. It was a huge pain in the ass. And I'm like, Mom, write this down somewhere, like organize, or put it in your phone or something.
Yep. That's what I mean. To them, this is rocket science. It's like, what the heck? There's so many hoops to jump through. That's why my parents lean on Jeremy, the youngest brother, all the time because they use him as like basically tech support all the time.
It seems like
Jeremy,
every time,
can you help us with this and that?
It seems like every time we get together with your parents and Jeremy, they always have a little tech project for him to work on.
Jeremy, I noticed this thing on my my MacBook here. How do you do this and that and get this thing hooked up? And oh my gosh. And poor Jeremy just sitting there rolling his eyes. He's like, this again? Like, I literally showed you guys like 8 times. So yeah, monotonous. Usually during the holidays too, which is even more annoying because you're supposed to be sitting there enjoying friends and family coming together, and it's just like, I have this one thing that, I don't know how to access that. Eric, do you know how to do this for me? And it's like, oh my gosh.
I was really proud of some of the residents at my work because one time we did they had a class where actually 2 kids from the high school came and did a class about iPads, laptops, and a bunch of residents came because they wanted to learn how to do it themselves. And I was so proud of them.
There you go. The will to want to learn.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to speak for that. Yeah, kudos to the, different generations of, learners that still want to keep on learning.
Yeah.
Because that's the one thing, there's a lot of people, once they get their degrees, whether it be, their high school diploma, their college degree or whatever, they just think, I'm done learning, I've got my, got my piece of paper, I am good, I have learned all there needs to learn, and, I'm just going to live my life now. Life is an ongoing learning experience, regardless if you're in a brick and mortar building earning that piece of paper or not. So, every day is a lesson. In a lot of ways, be it good or bad, and because life is always full of all kinds of mixed bag stuff.
That is true.
Mm-hmm. Day in and day out. I do feel like as time's gone on here, I've learned a lot from meeting and interacting with different people. I think has been very insightful.
Yeah.
Especially with the art of communicating with people, because boy, you really do begin to develop a repertoire of getting to know people.
Well, and so. You made this mention, too, that you feel like you get along better with younger people.
Oh, yeah. I've always felt that way. A lot of older generations tend to be very snide and snarky and judgmental and very, condemning in a lot of ways. We're just like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
That would make us say, why would you start your own podcast? Why would you do that? And the younger generation is like, oh, my gosh, you got a pod. That's amazing. Okay, the difference in, euphoria and interest and excitement, it's not there in the older generations because they're just like, that's stupid. Why would you do that? It's a waste of time.
If it's not
work.
If it's not making you money,
Well, here's the thing: if it is making me money, and they still would deny it.
Yeah.
I'm 100% convinced people who are just going to be irritable and critical all the time, let's just let them go because you know what? They're always just going to be bitter. Well, don't let them bring you down.
I think I tend to get along with older people better, and I don't know
More
if that's
power to you.
Well, but I think that comes from being an only child, and especially on my mom's side, I had no cousins. It was just me. So I spent a lot of time with my grandparents, my aunt and uncle, my mom and dad. So I spent a lot of time with older people.
Yep.
Like, not saying they were old, but just older,
Yeah.
So I think that's why, in a lot of ways, I get along with older people better.
Yeah. No, I feel like the vast majority, I get along with the younger generations way better because, I don't know, I feel like they're more accepting and chill. Not in all cases. There's still, some jackasses on both ends, but there's still good people on both as well. There's still a lot of nicer older people that, I've met throughout the years too that have been absolute angels of people. But yeah, there's been, quite a few that have also been Karens that sit there and have all kinds of like unsolicited remarks and unsolicited advice they give you all the time. Like, why would you do that? What a waste of time. Why are you just doing this? It makes no sense. I could never. Therein lies the truth.
Then don't. Don't worry about it.
It's their projection. Like, I wouldn't do that, therefore you shouldn't do that. So, always the narcissist. Always like the self-imposed on the other person. It's like, you're doing it wrong. Do it my way. Well, kind of touching back on the whole newspaper thing, too. A lot of older generations, they love being able to put those coins in little slots. And it was kind of weird with the newspaper machines. I don't know if they still have them around anymore. It was kind of the honor system because as soon as you pull back the little mechanism, there's an entire stack of newspapers. Somebody can just pull them all out right there.
Yeah, God, I forgot about those.
Oh, yeah. I remember, going to those things. Once again, I used to work for a newspaper. And I was always, fascinated by that. I'm just like, wow, people just don't take the entire stack after paying, the 30 cents or 50 cents to get their paper. This is wild. And then now, obviously, there's still some form of print media, especially for, elder generations that are probably in retirement homes and everything. But the vast majority of print media is turned online. It's had to adapt and basically convert to an online web presence. Otherwise, they'll get gobbled up by a giant conglomerate, which is what happened to the Alliance Review. Sad to say.
Well, yeah, because now, at work, there's a ton of residents who still get newspapers.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't really... It's been a while since I've read a newspaper because I get all my news on my phone.
That's what I mean. And once again, we usually get ours in short form media where they'll have certain news channels or certain influencers, I think is the term.
Yeah.
They'll get on there and be like, hey, this is happening in the world, just going to keep you informed, blah, blah. It's always action, constant movement, just very eye-catching, appealing to a person. So rather than just static words that put people to sleep.
Yeah.
So.
Well, some too, because they said with the attention spans, it seems like each generation the attention span's getting shorter and shorter because remember with TikTok when TikTok first came out, you could only make 10-second videos or something.
It couldn't be any more than that.
Yeah, but I mean now you can make up to a 10-minute video. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and same thing with Vine. I think Vine was only 6 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So it was our attention spans are getting shorter and shorter.
Mm-hmm. But once again, because of what type of media is available to us now, because once again, we get instant dopamine hits, instant gratification from watching these little short form video snippets. And that's why our generation and a lot of younger generations, we doom scroll. We'll just sit there and scroll and scroll and scroll all the way to the wee hours of the night before we get to bed and then wake up and go to work in the following morning. Then we come home and doom scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll again. So it's a vicious cycle.
It is a vicious cycle.
Try to put your phone down. That's a challenge I try to give to myself, too, as a millennial. It's just okay, I don't need to watch this media. I don't need to go to any social media thing. Leave my phone there for about an hour just to kind of decompress from it all, to walk away from it. And because, once again, we grew up in a generation where, we didn't have that.
No.
And now we're basically so transfixed on it. It's become, to a lot of younger people, too, it's almost just an addiction. Taking a young person's phone away to them is taking their life in a lot of ways because you're just their entire being is in that phone.
Well, and they're talking about too with children and stuff the iPad kids, which I think our generation is responsible for the iPad kid.
100%.
Because you basically, I mean, I'm not trying
the kid's acting up here. Here's an iPad.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to give parenting advice because we don't have kids, but
exactly.
But I see it so often in stores. You give these kids just get an iPad, and then teachers are saying at school they're acting up because they don't have that they don't have that media.
Yeah, they go nuts.
It's
try to take that away, and it's just like I said, you're taking away everything that brings them happiness. And of course, they're going to go crazy
because they're saying the rise in screen time is it's making children have really bad behaviors. Because when they don't have that screen in front of them.
Is this the new epidemic for youth?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah. Major problem. We could also go down that rabbit hole, too, of gentle parenting versus old school parenting, meaning spanking.
Yeah.
So we were raised, obviously I was raised in a spanking household. I was spanked way more. I was actually accused by my brothers. They would break something, accuse me of doing it. I would get punished for it, spanked. So I was overly punished growing up. And I think that was a problem for me growing up in a lot of ways. And, God forbid any other, kid experienced the same stuff that I went through with that stuff. But on the flip side, then there's gentle parenting where, like, a kid acts up and doesn't learn any consequences from his wrongdoing. So they keep on doing it. They keep on doing it because they know they get away with it. Yep. So there's a fine balance to all this. But I don't know. What is the true answer? Is there one? Or you just got to crack the whip on it?
Good use of the sound.
Right. No, because I remember my dad would always talk about, like, you should just be happy because I used my hand. I had to use, or my father used a belt on me. I can't imagine. Just,
I think my dad said my grandma tried to use Hot Wheel tracks, and they didn't do anything because they were so, like, wobbly and they didn't hurt.
I don't know. Like, you ever get slapped with a Hot Wheel track? It's actually, it leaves a welt. Like, that sucker hurts.
I think my mom said she spanked me once when I was, like, little, but, like, not real hard. And I didn't.
I got walloped. So, like, quite a bit once upon a time. And once again, through stuff that I never did. So, brother would break something. He didn't want to take the blame for it. Oh, Eric did it. He pushed me into it. I get punished. Jackass.
But now the kids now, it's like there's no punishment.
Yep.
They're just allowed to do whatever they want.
And then on the flip side, you see that one, I think it was like a Catholic church. They tried to reinstate spanking with paddles. And everybody in the comment section is like, fuck, no. Like, this is, no. Talking about reverting back to like a darker time.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to openly, like, ask teachers to be violent to children again. Like, actually, like, taking a paddle to their ass.
Some teachers would probably relish in it. Some teachers would probably love it.
Or the ones that had, like, some weird fetish or something.
Maybe.
No, that's a whole different topic of conversation there. Ugh. But I don't know. What is the true answer with parenting kids? So, is gentle parenting the way? No. Or is that completely failed at this point?
I think it's completely failed, truly.
Yeah. It really doesn't have a very good track record as far as I can tell, because, like, society is just getting more narcissistic, and frankly, nobody apologizes for anything anymore, which is very strange to me. It's like nobody owns up to anything. It's always just blame the other person, blame,
Yep.
and freak out and just start name-calling if things don't go your way. It's just wild to me.
Okay, where was I? I noticed this. Oh my gosh, where was I recently? Where was this? Oh, I noticed, okay, so I was on a road trip this weekend, and I noticed this with it was mostly with younger people, probably people in their 20s. Like, there was no saying, excuse me. People weren't holding doors open.
Yeah.
Like, we would walk into a store and we wouldn't even be greeted. And because I've heard of the Gen Z stare. And I experienced that for the first time this weekend. Because I was and I walked up and I said hello, and I was ready to check out, and this girl just stared at me, and I'm like, I put I bought my little, it was a little trinket, put it on the counter, and she just stared at me. I'm like, here you go. Like, it was so weird. I'm like, I'm just trying to be nice. Like, hey, hello, how are you? And then just, I'm ready to pay for my stuff. And she just stared at me. I'm like, okay.
I did have one moment going through a drive-thru with, I think, a Gen Z girl. And I was ordering something from Taco Bell. And then when she told me to pull around, so I pulled around. And she literally opens up the window and, like, leans out to me and says, sir, next time you order, make sure you speak up so I can hear you better. And I'm sitting there like, who is serving who here?
Yeah.
Like, I'm literally paying money to be, to get food served by you, and you're telling me how I should order? Go soak your head. Like, what are you thinking?
Well,
the audacity.
I keep thinking of the meme where it's like, okay, because, boomers have the lead paint stare because baby boomers are supposedly full of lead. And then millennials, what? We're full of...
microplastics
or something. Or is it Gen Z who's full of microplastics?
Who knows?
But yeah, like,
I think we're all full of shit.
We're all messed up from different things. Because
that's one constant through all generations. We're all full of shit.
It was like the silent generation's full of asbestos.
Oh gosh.
The baby boomers
whole
are full of
thing.
lead paint. We're full of microplastics.
But still makes me worry about the whole asbestos thing because I remember my grade school growing up, Knox, it was built in the 50s and they used asbestos throughout the entire building. So all throughout my grade school years, like basically every single child and teacher was exposed to all that stuff. So I don't know, it explains a lot. And that was the first building, I think, to get torn down too, which is wild. Because there was like a lot older buildings that were built in like the 30s and 20s. They were still up. But that elementary school was the first one knocked down during the remodel. So I'm like,
Wow.
Why they do that? Asbestos.
Asbestos.
Keeps out the rats. But yeah, I think we'll call it here. So
Yeah.
thank you, everybody. Sorry it's been so long of a wait, but we're glad to be back and glad to have you here listening to us again. So, all right. Well, hey, everybody, have a good one, and we'll see you next time on It All Depends on the Situation. Have a good one.